What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. In March of 1970, an absolutely massive theme park would open up in Osaka, Japan. Known as Expoland, it operated 10 coasters throughout its lifetime, including one that was very special: the world's longest roller coaster. The world's longest roller coaster? I've never heard of that. Well, not a lot of people have, because it only held the record for less than a year. Weirdly, this bizarre attraction originally opened with 5 tracks before 3 of them were closed to make way for a new attraction, and the remaining 2 were combined into one continuous coaster, making it the world's longest roller coaster. If it were still around today, it would actually still be the 3rd longest roller coaster in the world, surpassed only by Steel Dragon 2000, the current record holder, and the soon-to-be Falcon's Flight. That's more than double the length of most coasters on Earth today. My name's Josiah, and here at National Coasters, we cover all things rare and bizarre, covering the world's most strange and elusive coasters. If you're new here, welcome, we're really happy to have you, and we are excited to cover some of these cool rides. But now, it's time to travel back in time to Japan and discover what was once the world's longest roller coaster. This is episode 3, Daidarasaurus. Opening in 1970, Daidarasaurus was originally a 5-track roller coaster designed and built by Japanese manufacturer Sansei Yusoki. At the time, Sansei Yusoki had only ever built 3 roller coasters, but were given the opportunity through a connection at the year's prior Expo 70. Now, Daidarasaurus, despite operating under one collective name, would itself have theoretically been considered 3 individual coasters in the eyes of the average parkgoer, as it was designed in 3 unique tiers. The first tier consisted of 2 tracks on the leftmost side of the 5 that were intended to function as a racing coaster. As you can see, these 2 tracks were relatively short in length and followed what was essentially the same layout throughout, with the fun, what I call, Snake 8 section at the end. The second tier to the design then followed, with a single-track family-style coaster in the center of the 5 that reached the same height as the Tier 1 tracks. This little guy took off on his own after peaking the lift, where it would interact with the Tier 3 coasters later on in its layout. Now, the Tier 3 coasters themselves were the ones that lasted the longest though, as they were ultimately what made the ride stick around as long as it did. As they stood, the Tier 3 coasters rose higher than the Tier 1 tracks and the family coaster, reaching a height of 93.5 feet. Rather than being racing or individual coasters, they were a pair of dueling coasters that wrapped around themselves, involving mild drops and long helices. Together, these 5 tracks collectively made Daidarasaurus at the time, and the attraction operated that way from 1970 all the way up until 1998, leaving a total operating lifespan in that form of 28 years. But like I said, that was just its first form, and the record for the world's longest roller coaster didn't come until the next season. That same year, Expoland closed the Tier 1 and Tier 2 coasters of Daidarasaurus, completely removing them from the park. The exact reason for this isn't entirely known, though we can suspect operating costs to have had something to do with it. Instead, they opted to combine the Tier 3 coaster tracks into one long, continuous Mobius coaster, which is how Daidarasaurus is most widely remembered today. The new coaster had a combined length of 7,677.2 feet and a ride duration of 6 minutes and 33 seconds, immediately taking the record for the world's longest roller coaster. That record had previously been held by the Ultimate at Lightwater Valley in the United Kingdom, which came in just 235 feet short of Daidarasaurus. But wow, cool, this record certainly didn't last long, because I should note, I don't think anyone really cared. Expoland never, to my knowledge, marketed the coaster as such, nor had any intention of taking the record in the first place. In fact, I don't think they even knew they did. I think they really just wanted to save on operating costs and lower staffing for the entirety of the ride. Regardless, that record was broken the next year anyways in August of 2000 by Steel Dragon 2000, also in Japan, which smashed it by a whopping 456 feet. Doesn't that number sound oddly familiar? Anyways, Daidarasaurus operated on despite that all the way up until December 9th, 2007, when Expoland closed its doors for good. Unfortunately, a tragic accident had occurred on another attraction that year, which prompted the closure of the entire park. And so, by 2008, it was removed, and eventually the park went as well. 37 years of thrills came to an end. But the legacy of Daidarasaurus lives on, as it truly was one of the weirdest coasters out there. An original 5 tracks turned to 1 as the world's longest roller coaster is certainly funny, and will forever be vaulted in the weird, ever-changing history of the amusement world. I mean, whether you like it or not, it did exist and it did hold a pretty substantial record. But that's about it for Daidarasaurus today. Anyways though, if you didn't catch it already, my name's Josiah, and if you enjoyed this segment on Daidarasaurus, please feel free to like and subscribe. I'm not sure anyone had actually covered this coaster super in depth before, so it was a fun challenge for us to bring to you all today. Of course, if you don't already know, we are taking you guys through an entire journey of rare and bizarre coasters throughout the world, so if you want to see more, again subscribe, and we will have another one coming out in a couple days as well. Until then, thank you all so much for being here, and we'll see you all there. See ya!